So this is the second week in a row of awkward call and response. 'Cause last week was May the 4th be with you, and I mean, you kind of want to say, and also with you, like some sort of Catholic thing maybe, but not really. And then this week, Happy Mother's Day, you can't say that back to me. Like, it's not like, and you too. And I don't know, like when you go to a restaurant and the waitress is like, enjoy your meal, and you immediately want to say, you too, but she's not eating at the same time you are, so it's like that. But Happy Mother's Day, you don't have to say it back to me, because that wouldn't make any sense at all. You can say Happy Mother's Day, and then May the 4th be with you some more. I don't know. Whatever, it's fine. Before I do anything else, since we have a good crowd that I can advertise for the trivia night that's happening this Saturday, May 17th, here are the official categories for trivia night. Of course, we have to do mothers in the Bible because this is Mother's Day. And license plates. Well, I'll show you a picture of a license plate without the name of the state, and you have to tell me what the name of the state is. Ice cream. Movie taglines. The history of fire. There is a history of fire. And general knowledge. Now you've got them. Now you can study. Get ready. This is our third week of It's All Greek. And I want to go a little while without saying the actual word for this week, because in the last 2 weeks, we went straight into the word, and there was a lot of definitions and stuff going with it. For those of you who don't know, that weren't here, It's All Greek is a study in different Greek words from the New Testament and their importance and different things. But of all the words that we've discussed before, that we will discuss, this is one that you are probably the most familiar with, both the Greek form and the English form. In fact, you probably have said the English version of the word many, many times over the course of this past week, maybe once a day, maybe even more. You've probably also said the Greek version a few times anyway, because it's a word that gets studied. It's a word that people know, and they know what it means and where it comes from a little bit. And it comes up in Bible studies, and biblical scholars have debates about it, and they have YouTube videos about it. It's a lot of things to do to study this word. But again, I don't want to say the word yet. I'll let it just kind of work its way in. We've already heard what the word is. We know what it's going to be, but I'm going to build into it. Unlike last week, the word kenosis, which means self-emptying, it was such a deep concept that you may not have even known until last week. It may have been totally foreign to you until last week. Kenosis required reading the definition and then working through that definition to make sense of it so that we could see the depth and the reach and the value of what is it like to pour out an offering, to drain yourself of everything that is in you in the container that is you. Our word for today is more and more common than that would ever be, like kenosis. It's so common that in a lot of ways it becomes undefinable, because if it's something that you do every day, you almost don't really know how to do or say the thing that you're doing to define it, like a involuntary muscle kind of a thing. Like, can you explain how you breathe? Do you know how you breathe? Can you define the function of breathing, or what your lungs do, how your lungs work? It's like that. It's something that's happening. It's happening all around us. It's happening all the time. But can we really define it? Can we really stop and put it into words? The word today is a lot like that. The English version of this word is almost always in the top 20 in Merriam-Webster's online dictionary for looking up the word, because even though you know it, even though you say it, sometimes you really want to see what someone has decided is how the word is defined. And we're going to try today, both in English and in Greek. New Testament writers like Paul or John, they certainly have attempted in their own ways to define it. And most would argue that they did a pretty good job. I would not disagree. They did a very good job of finding this word. And I would say, though, people like Peter and Paul and John, and James, they had better access to this word because they were experiencing a form of it in person that we never really got to experience. And Mike, I want to have you come up here for a second. Can you come to the drum set? This is how Paul, without saying the word, this is how Paul defines the absence of the word. Okay, so now, grab the sticks, and I want you to just smash away at the cymbals. Just crash all the cymbals really hard. Okay. Thank you. That was a cacophony, was it not? I mean, I'm not going to say give him a round of applause because that was nonsense. That was just chaos. I mean, still, thanks for coming up and volunteering. You can go sit down now. Thank you. You can give him a hand for volunteering if you want to give him a hand. Paul, in the book of 1 Corinthians, Paul explains that the word we are talking about today, you could sound really eloquent and really smart and be a very put together person, but if you don't have the word, it sounds like that. The things you're saying sound like that cacophony. You may already, again, know what the word is if you were paying attention to Chris. The word looks like this. See it? You got it? And you can pronounce that, obviously, because you're all really, really good at Greek. Now you know it. Good job. And using reference to the scripture from John, which John has his own version of this, where he explains not only is it the absence, it sounds like the nonsense like that, but John actually uses the word to identify a descriptor of God himself. John says that God is that word. It is a definition of him. That right there in Greek is God is that word. Theos, eimi, agape. God is love. So naturally, agape, love, has become a very important word because it's a common thing for a noun to be used as a noun, but not as common of a thing for a noun to be describing anything, let alone God himself. It is something special. And in the terms of math, just taking that phrase, God is love, when you look at math equations, you would say that the is the equal, and the what's before and after the equal, if it's the same on both sides, that you have an equation, that you could say if God is love, then love is God. And there are people that have actually taken that to quote what we were referring to from 1 Corinthians here, from chapter 13, to suggest that you could go through and look at the scriptures about love and replace the words with God. So the scripture from 1 Corinthians 13, starting in verse 4, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Those are all things that love individually. Love is this, love does not do this. You could then turn and say, well, God is patient, God is kind, God does not envy, God does not boast. That there's an interchangeable way to say that. And while that is true, we can't make them one the definition for the other because there's more to it. There's way more to it. Otherwise, the sermon would end right here and we'd be done. It's better to say that everything that agape is has come from God. And John gives us that in 1 John chapter 4, verse 7. Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. So many people could have agape, but they are not God. If I went and tried to replace mom in this scripture in 1 Corinthians, it might work a little bit. Specifically, my mom is patient, my mom is kind. But ultimately, they are not 100% interchangeable because at some point or another, my mom has failed. My mother, your mother, all mothers have flaws. Like in the verse in Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. All includes mothers. All mothers have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. You are all sinners, mothers. And we all know this. And while I'm not going to dwell on that because who wants to hear a sermon on Mother's Day where we talk about how mothers are sinners? It does allow us to make that connection between the transposition of this, like what can be taken in and out, and what are the importance of the words. Agape is far too complex. It can't be a word that you just slip in and out in the other scriptures. There are other words in Greek that are translated love besides agape. We have philia. Philia is brotherly love. We have eros. Eros is more of like a romantic between a husband and wife love. There are other words that become the word love in our English translation. But the word agape has been used very, very specifically in certain ways. And there's a distinction that is made even in a very specific scripture of the book of John where Peter and Jesus are having a discussion over which translation or which version of the word love do you have. This is verse 21, or chapter 21, verse 15. When they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" "Yes, Lord," he said, "you know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my lambs." Again, Jesus said, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" He answered, "Yes, you know that I love you." Jesus said, "Take care of my sheep." It comes across as repetition, that we're hearing the same thing said over and over again, but it's two different Greek words that we're hearing in English as the one word love. That during this passage, Peter answers Jesus with, "Yeah, I philia you, I brotherly love you, I care for you like a brother." L-Y-L-A-B, as we used to put on notes back in the 80s and 90s, remember that? The L-Y, love you like a brother, love you like a sister? No, I'm sorry. We used to do that. That's the way Peter comes across answering, "Yeah, I have brotherly affection for you," but Jesus says, "No, I'm asking you, do you agape me?" Something more than just philia. Do you agape me? And Peter in turn says, "I philia you." And then Jesus again, "Do you agape me?" So even Peter has a hard time with this word. Now, if anybody's out there keeping score, either in this room or online, you know that back in February we did have a sermon already where we did the entire sermon about love, and you might just want to storm out of here saying this is all repetition and there's nothing new here. But while some of it is the same, some of the scriptures are used the same here, if you remember that sermon, that was talking about love as being a foundation for us as an existence in the church. We didn't do a whole lot to discuss the word itself and to break down what agape really truly means. Agape needed its own week to try to break it down further. So with the remaining time, what we have left for that moment we're together, we're going to do our best to put agape into a perspective that allows us to understand why it's different, what makes it unique, and why someone as faithful as Peter could have a hard time committing to it. With a few little points here. So point number one is that with agape, you have to do it to define it. Agape love is more than words. It's not just agape to write "I love you" on a poster board and go out on the side of the street and hold it up and let people see as you go by. That is not performance of agape. That's just words. There's an expectation with agape that with that love, you have a willingness to put your feelings into action so that it can be recognized, it can be experienced, it can be noticed and felt. The recipient of that love feels it deep down, and they are affected by it. Next week, on Wednesday, my family, all of my immediate family, my mom, my dad, my brother-in-law, my niece and nephew, we're all going to Columbus because my dad is being honored in Columbus from the Ohio State Fire Marshal's office, actually. They give this award every year called the Distinguished Service Award. It's something where they choose somebody from across the state that's been nominated that has done something distinguished in the way of firefighting. And my dad has 50 years of service in firefighting in Ohio. 50 years of distinguished service fighting fires. That's 50 years of burning buildings. That's 50 years of smoke inhalation. That's 50 years of unstable structures and extrication from vehicles and vehicle entrapments and unbearable heat and split-second decision-making and first aid and possible CPR. 50 years of that. The intensity of what goes into being a firefighter is well understood. There's no arguing the connotations with the phrase, "I am a firefighter." There's no distinguished service award, however, for sitting next to a scanner, listening to fire runs come in and saying, "I hope that fire gets put out soon." That is not a thing you get distinguished service for. No one questions why you thank a firefighter for the service because we know that the action is there. There is action in being a firefighter. Agape is like that. It is the essence of action. It is actually the mark of discipleship. John 13:34. "A new command I give you, agape, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you agape. The world may not know it or understand it when it's happening, but that doesn't really stop us from loving them, does it? Agape is not passive, it is active. And not only is it active, but it's proactive. We don't love the world in reciprocation for something the world has done to show something to us. We don't show agape to settle a score. We don't show agape to make something right with someone else. We don't do it because someone's even asking for it. We just do it because agape is not reactive, it is proactive. It is not our repayment, it is not our validation, it is not justification. You do it to define it. The second thing is that you can't restrict it or it loses its meaning. It's not a choice of who, it's not a choice of where or when or how. Agape is not something you can limit. You don't set rules, you don't set parameters. You don't decide the quality of agape. It can't be agape if you try to choose how it's done. Matthew 5. You have heard that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. There's more. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. He causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. If you love those who love you, what reward will you get? Are not even the tax collectors doing that? And if you greet only your own people, what are you doing more than others? Do not even pagans do that? The sun shines on everyone. There is no difference. If we only showed love to half of Batavia, would that be love? Would it be agape if we asked an outsider to provide proof that they can't pay for a meal before we feed them? That's not agape. We had this verse last week, and it fits really well here too. Ephesians 5:1. Follow God's example, therefore, as dearly loved children, because again, right here, we're saying that we are children of the Father in heaven. Follow God's example, therefore, as dearly loved children, and walk in the way of love, just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us as a fragrant offering and a sacrifice to God. That phrase, walk in the way of love, is just two words in Greek, peripateo, agape. Peripateo means live, walk, conduct life. It's your everyday, it's all the time, it's in every step you take. And agape are the footsteps. No matter which way you're going. It's not just certain places. It's not limited to the first mile and a half. Every step, every breath, every moment, agape is right there with us. That's how it's able to appear for our enemies, because if we're not worried about what seems necessary or right or within reason, agape is there with every step. It becomes natural for us in every situation to show that love. There is no difference in the application of agape. Number 3, it shows God by letting God be shown. Let's go back to 1 Corinthians 13:1. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal or a chaotic mess of crashing sounds on the drum set. If I use the most intelligent sounding words that I possibly could to speak to someone, but I'm missing that agape in my life, I'm not speaking with love behind it, I'm not walking my steps with love in it, then they're meaningless. Those words just come out sounding like that noise. Take this painting, for example. Who knows who that painting is by? Boom, good job. There is no art trivia on Saturday, but if there is, we'll get you in there eventually. That is a Jackson Pollock painting. Jackson Pollock is known for basically just taking his brush, dipping it in a paint can, and then holding it up and just letting it drip across the canvas. He just fills the canvas with drips. And while it definitely is an obviously busy and noisy-ish painting, isn't it evident that there is purpose and there is intent to where that noise is going? That you can look at that painting and you can know there is a motion dedicated to that canvas. There was a designer of that painting. It has value, a lot of value actually, but it has value because it was a designer that did it. This, on the other hand, does not have value. Anybody know what this is? That's the gum wall. You know where that's at? It is in Seattle, Washington. Yes. This wall is just a wall where people started sticking their chewed gum up on it. And then more people did, and more people did, and more people did. And then people started selling gum right around the corner so that you could go straight to the wall to put more gum on it. And then people started putting little business cards on it because, hey, if people are going to come look at the gum, I might as well sell something while I'm doing it. And you end up with a wall full of chewed gum. Exactly. Very gross. This has no value. This has no love, no intent, no purpose. Love, agape, is the signature that makes a mess a masterpiece. When we allow our lives to be constant, unlimited agape, we are stamping God's seal on all that flows through us. We don't need to remind the world that anything we've done or said will be treated at a different way later. We don't need to make sure that they see us wearing matching t-shirts to make sure that we know that they know where we came from. Love alone is the identifier. It stands alone as the identifier. Agape speaks for itself. So in all the three ways, in all the different points, all the things that are done to make it real, and the ways that we keep sure that it's not restricted and it's not unlimited, or that it's not limited, and all the ways that it reveals things about God and the nature of God and his beauty, agape is irreplaceable in our Christian identity. It is our passion to run into a burning building. It is the open road for every step in every direction, and it is the conductor of our symphony. We will never truly be able to put agape into our own perfect words because agape was not originally ours to create. 1 John 4:19, we love, we agape, because he first agape. He first loved us. We love, all of us love, because he first loved us. And to make it clear in a way that we can understand maybe a little better, Paul does a wonderful job of narrowing it down to just one verse where he takes all of those concepts of agape, the fact that it is an unlimited action that is done to people who don't deserve it to reveal the nature of God. And let me say that again. The unlimited action that is done to people who don't deserve it to reveal the nature of God. Those are the 3 points we just talked about. He did that by using us as the recipients in the verse. In the book of Romans, we have one verse that ties all those concepts together. It helps us realize that before we were the church, the ecclesia, before we could understand any of these concepts or show agape love to other people, before we were the people that could be agape in our own lives and to the rest of the world, God gave us the example that supersedes all other examples. And we're going to end with this verse. Romans 5:8. But God demonstrates his own agape, which was done first, to us. He demonstrates his own love for us in this. While we, all of us, mothers included, we're all still sinners, Christ died for us. That is the original agape, for us.